I think a two-state solution is what we need. I think the details are very complicated. We need to secure the safety of everyone, but I absolutely believe that this is what should be done, and we must start working today.
Seit dem 10. Oktober gilt zwischen Israel und der Hamas eine Waffenruhe. Mehrfach gebrochen und immer wieder erneuert. Sie brachte Hoffnung, aber auch Misstrauen. In dieser Zeit des Innehaltens, zwischen Diplomatie und Erschöpfung, sucht Israel nach Orientierung. Wie lässt sich Versöhnung denken, wenn das Vertrauen längst verloren scheint? Efrat Machikawa ist die Nichte eines Mannes, der 482 Tage in Geiselhaft war. Mit ihr spreche ich über Heilung und Hoffnung, über Sprache und Verantwortung und über die Frage, ob Israelis und Palästinenser nach all dem überhaupt noch aufeinander zugehen können. Willkommen zu Fokus Nahost. Mein Name ist Josefin Herrmann. Am 7. Oktober 2023 griff die islamistische Hamas mehrere Orte in Israel an. Mehr als 1200 Menschen wurden getötet, über 250 verschleppt. Als Reaktion begann Israel eine Militäroffensive gegen die Hamas im Gazastreifen, bei der Zehntausende Menschen starben. Seit dem 10. Oktober 2025 gilt nun eine von den USA, Katar und Ägypten vermittelte Waffenruhe. Sie ist Teil des Friedensplans von US-Präsident Donald Trump. Ein Abkommen, das zunächst die Rückkehr der Geiseln regeln und in einer zweiten Phase eine internationale Friedenstruppe und die Entwaffnung der Hamas vorsehen soll. Doch die Waffenruhe bleibt fragil. Beide Seiten werfen sich Verstöße vor und immer wieder kommt es zu Angriffen. Nicht nur die Palästinenser, auch die israelische Gesellschaft lebt weiter mit den Bildern des Krieges. Und mit der Frage, ob Frieden mehr sein kann als ein Wort auf Papier. Efrat Machikawa ist Nichte von Gadi Moses, der 482 Tage in Geiselhaft der Hamas war. Auch nachdem ihr Onkel freikam, engagiert sie sich weiter für die Familien der Vermissten. Mit ihr spreche ich über den Moment der Rückkehr, über die Stimmung in Israel und über die Hoffnung, dass die Idee einer Zwei-Staaten-Lösung mehr sein kann als eine ferne Vision. Efrat, take us back to the moment your uncle Gadi Moses came home. Where were you and how did this long process unfold to your family?
During the time, we had created the hostage square, and I guide them there sometimes with different diplomats coming or different delegation coming. On the day of the announcement, I was actually guiding a group of diplomats from India. And a lady from the forum approached me and wanted to talk to me. And I just turned to her quickly and said, "Sorry, I'm guiding. I cannot talk right now." And then she said, "No, I have to talk to you." And I said, "Sorry, can we wait for a few minutes, please?" I was with my delegation trying to be as professional as I've tried to be every time. And she said, "No, this is urgent." And then I turned to her and I said, "What's urgent?" And she said, "Do you know that Gadi is on the list for tomorrow?" And I was absolutely shocked. Now it's all on camera because I was filmed during my guiding. And I have to tell you, the minute I heard his coming, I had an unexplained shake all over my body. My hand was holding my phone was absolutely shaking. And I was so filled with emotions that were hard to explain. And some tears bursted. And then I had all the diplomats around me. So they all started hugging me and clapping, and there was such a celebration. And I just kept saying, "I can't believe it. He's coming tomorrow. He's coming tomorrow." So then I continued my guide.
You did? Wow.
But it was in a very, it was in a very different mode. And I related everything I said to this burst of relief, but yet a worry, because we never knew what exactly. I mean, The announcement is really touching and full of joy, but we know who we're dealing with. So it's not as if it's promised for 100% is coming home. And what kind of Gadi is coming home? How is his mental state? What about will he be standing on his feet? We had no idea.
And also,
So,
how long was he in captivity?
He was in captivity for 482 days.
Unbelievable.
And he is now 81 and a half years old. He was taken when he was 80, and we had no clue. So the joy was really genuine, but yet the worry was maybe at the same amount because we were so fearful. And it was with me until the moment I hugged him, until the moment I saw him in my eyes and held him in my arms. Well, actually, he held me because my uncle has the best hug ever. And although he was the freed hostage, I still felt when he hugged me, the little girl that he used to hug always. And he has this strong, wonderful hug. And, the first sentence he said was actually reflecting all my fears because he said, "I'm okay. I'm normal." This is what he said when he hugged me. And he knew that after 482 very long, torturing days, we are worried. And knowing that he is with us was such a relief after such a long torturing period. And, today we mark day 750. Gadi came back on day 482. So thinking about all these families, 13 families that are still waiting for their beloved ones to be back, it's quite heartbreaking.
Yeah. In gatherings you've attended in the last weeks, you also attended funerals. What would you say, which emotions dominate now? Is it rather relief, grief, anger? What did you notice?
During the past week, we had 5 different funerals. And there are so many emotions going on during those funerals and ceremonies. But I think it is mainly sadness and relief. At last, after such a long time, people who were taken brutally away from their beds and homes on that October 7th morning are back home. And I never really realized how important it is to bury someone, to know that he is actually gone and he is back to the land he was taken from. These people were murdered very brutally, either on October 7th and their bodies were taken, which is really a very crazy idea of kidnapping the bodies, or being kidnapped alive and then being executed in Gaza. And the agony is beyond explanation. It's really, and yes, there is a lot of anger. But honestly, during this week, in every single funeral we had, it was a sense of sadness with a relief that those that were murdered in this way are at least back with us. And there is no doubt that they might be living, because the fact that somebody is taken alive and then you are announced he was murdered always leaves you with a tiny little hope. Maybe the information is wrong, but once they come, back and they're identified, at least you have some kind of a closure. And the ceremonies in Israel, I think, really reflect who we are. There are poems and classical music and beautiful songs and beautiful speeches of family and friends and community members. And I think one who comes and sees this understands who we really are, because it is in times of sorrow and great joy when you can really understand what kind of people we are.
How do you know that you are healing, not just coping?
I think that we are still in the coping mode, but we're doing everything in order to move on for the healing. It starts with the lack of sleep. We hardly sleep for more than 2 years now. It's really very difficult to sleep, and you wake up from all these thoughts, not only nightmares, but it's these thoughts. And there are these mornings that you wake up, and now I guess with time it's in less and less, but there were so many mornings that I woke up and I said to myself, wow, maybe this was all a dream. But we know the knowledge of October 7th is sinking now. I think maybe this is part of the healing. It's moving from coping to understanding to little steps of healing. It doesn't happen in a day. It will take years, I think, for the whole state to realize what happened. It was a catastrophe.
You've been meeting not only with other families, but also with officials, including the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and other policymakers. What did that meeting mean for you personally, and what a message do you hope they took away from it?
From October 8th, a day after the atrocity, the contact with the German embassy started. We were really hoping that the fact that our family members have dual citizenship will assist in some way, and maybe they would have different information or will get some kind of a different advice. And it is going on until this very day. And I have to really share how much I appreciate the solidarity and the kindness of the officials, from the Chancellor, the Bundestag members, the President, the embassy officials here, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I think that it is not to be taken for granted that officials are with you side by side for such a long time. And there were different criticism of why is it not happening this way or that way, but it didn't in a whole. So I think that their involvement is highly appreciated. And I do understand, coming from cultural diplomacy background, that there are things in diplomacy that are behind the scenes, and we as citizens cannot always know, or might never know, what has been done. I want to believe that many things were at least were trying to be pushed, and I am very grateful for that. But most of all, I think what is important here is to understand the value and the future of the German-Israeli solidarity. And I think that this is unquestionable. There are things that needs to be strengthened, There are things that we need to discuss. There are many programs that might be good to think about, but the foundation of the solidarity is a very, very important value.
Since the ceasefire, family face mixed realities, basically. Releases, returns in death, unfortunately, and some unresolved cases as well. What are the two top decisions you want from authorities now?
The first is, I think that the international community, the United States and the Israeli government must do every single step and every single effort they have to make sure that all hostages are back. And there are 13 missing hostages, including one German Israeli, Itai, who must come back home. This is the most important expectation.
Yeah.
And the second is creating a space for a better future and hope. I think that it has been enough. And we must make sure that terrorism does not exist in our area or the world, I hope. That it is eradicated from its roots, that we, like other places in the world, will have a future that is secure, that we know that the defense is absolute, that we can invest in growing, and so does our neighbors. You cannot hope for a good future for one side. We have to make sure that it's holistic. When everybody has hope and everybody has a direction for a better future for their children, then we will start the real healing, and then we will start cultivating for a better days to come.
After all the hostages come home, do you think, you kind of touched point on it already, do you think Israelis and Palestinians now can, from that point on, can move towards to each other? And also, what would toward even mean? A dialogue, shared grief, or cooperation?
As a lecturer in university, I led so many diversity courses and coexistence courses, and we always used the word peace. I think some of this naive understanding of what we were hoping peace is changed a bit. And I think that after October 7th, it is maybe it sounds beautiful to talk of peace, but I think that we need to be more realistic. And what we need to aim for, at least in the next 10 years, is to build up a foundation of coexistence in the understanding that the shared grief is uniting us, although our differences, although the hate that is very humanistic feeling, but we should be above that because it leads nowhere. It leads to death and a dead end, And I think that it's coexistence and good neighborhood and a collaboration on a level that is actually beneficial to both. It's with agriculture, maybe. It's with education. It's with different initiatives that both sides can find a mutual language. It's towards peace, but in order to really reach peace, we have many, many, many steps to start with. But this ceasefire and the full return of the hostages is what is needed in order for it to start. People in Israel are still under the shock and the grief and the agony of October 7th. And only by the return of all our people home will we be able to start the journey towards the coexistence. But if you ask me yes or no, I say yes. There is definitely a future for both people.
So you would also say you do believe in the two-state solution?
Definitely. I think a two-state solution is what we need. I think the details are very complicated. We need to secure the safety of everyone, but I absolutely believe that this is what should be done, and we must start working today.
Looking ahead, people discuss several day after models for Gaza as well, right? A restored Palestinian Authority role, an interim technocratic administration with regional backing or other frameworks. From your perspective, which principles are non-negotiable? Security, justice, humanitarian access? What is important to you?
After the brutal attack on our homes and our communities on October 7th, I think first most important subject should be the defense and should be ensuring security and making sure that October 7th will never, ever be even close to happening again. We cannot discuss anything unless we know we are safe in our homes. But think about the building you are living at or the home in the neighborhood you're living at, and suddenly 6:30 in the morning, tens of terrorists are coming into your house when you are still in your bed and in your pajamas and just taking you away.
Efrat, where were you on October 7th?
My home is about 40 minutes away from the border, but we heard the bombing before we even had the alarm going on. And my daughter woke me up and said, Mom, something really wrong is going on. Something is really going on. And then I woke up, and immediately after we had the siren going on. And when missiles are being shot towards Israel, depending on the direction, we have a siren going on. And we went to the safe room, a very special room where we stay during an attack. And once we went out, I immediately went and called my cousin, and later I called my aunt, and we spoke with them, and we understood that there are people shouting in Arabic, Allahu Akbar, and all kind of sayings, and that they're shooting and bombing, and we understood something very, very bad is going on, but we never thought it's more than one or two or maybe three terrorists. Little did we know that later during the day, Nil Oz will be conquered. There will be about 400 to 500 militants, and later 400 to 500 civilians from the villages around would come and rob and steal and burn. It is so difficult to really describe what happened on October 7th to people who were not from our region. I really hope that people who wants to know will ask questions and will dig into the very detailed information that exists. Just hearing me talking about October 7th is nothing according to what really happened. You need to imagine the worst horror movie you ever managed to see and double it in 1 million times. The cruelty of what happened here is beyond a normal human being capacity to imagine.
Is there a phrase you avoid because it kind of closes doors? Or is there a phrase you use because it keeps them open in these kind of conversations?
Language and phrases are a reflection of culture. And I think that your question is very interesting. As an optimistic person, I think that I would not have any sentence that a phrase that I would not use. And the reason is it's because the interpretation. I can always explain in some way my own personal, maybe more optimistic explanation to most phrases I can think of, except of maybe from the river to the sea. That would be something that I totally disagree with, but not because of the idea of the saying. It's because the lack of education behind it, and also the over-hate education that is in it. And I think that people who are looking for some excitements, and I think that people who are looking for some excitements are very easily drawn into these mass as if celebrations. And if you ask most of the individuals, they would not even know what the phrase means. At the same time, I would say, when you call for the freedom of one, you cannot take away a freedom of the other, because freedom must be upon all. So that would be a phrase I would have some difficulty to deal to. That would be the phrase that I would rather not hear. But when I hear it, I would take it as an opportunity for a discussion, and an educational discussion, historical discussion. And I would just turn it into a leverage for communication. And I think that I could deal with it. I would not like it, but I could deal with it. On the other hand, phrases that I would say I often use is light shall overcome darkness. And I really do feel this is so true, because think about it. When we are in a very, very dark room, in a very dark situation, we only need a light of a tiny little candle. And when that comes into a dark room, it overcomes the darkness. So this is it. This is what we need. We need tiny little lights that in the future will gather and be a huge light. And we will, with the efforts of all the people, we will overcome this darkness.
What in real terms does that light look like today? And what would have to change so it's more than a metaphor?
I think it's not only a metaphor. I see the people of Israel. I see our rise. I see our efforts for more than 2 years. We, the people, our call, our activities, our projects, our traveling all over the world, our talks with diplomats and nations, we did it. We managed to make a difference. And I think that light, tiny, but yet light, has already shown. It's a huge darkness, and there are a lot of things going on in Israel and in the world, and it's not easy. But the voice of the people and the voice of the real spirit of Israel has been heard, has been seen, and that gives me hope for a future yet to be solved, because we have lots of problems with extremists outside of Israel and inside of Israel. And that is a challenge, but I say there is no other choice but staying optimistic.
Efrat, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And I hope that people who will listen to us will understand that in order to know more, they are welcome to ask questions. And more than that, they're welcome to come and visit Israel, breathe the air here, get to know the people and the stories, and then they would be able to think for themselves of how they perceive the situation, how they would like to continue as people, as citizens of this world, and maybe how they would like to take part in making this world a better one.
Das war die zweite Folge von Fokus Nahost. Wenn euch diese Folge gefallen hat, teilt sie gern, abonniert den Podcast und lasst eine Bewertung da. Oder schreibt einen Kommentar. So könnt ihr helfen, dass noch mehr Menschen diese Perspektiven hören. Und dann hören wir uns bald wieder. Danke fürs Zuhören und bis bald.